so they're almost like identical twins. And there was 125 of them, like identical twins. So group number 1, I gave just chopped up head lettuce, iceberg lettuce. You see the size after 6 weeks. This was a 6-week study. Number 2 got the hydroponically grown barley grass chopped up. Notice group number 2 is about 10% larger. Look at the size of the head, look at the length and everything. It's about 10-15% larger than group number 1 that just got the lettuce. Now, all of these ducks still had their yolk sacs in their bellies. Okay, they're still getting a trickle of nutrition from those yolk sacs. It's not like we're starving. Group number 3, the one with the ruler on it, got the commercially prepared duck pellets by Ralston Purina with all the known vitamins and minerals necessary for perfect ducks. Now that one is 2 and 3 times bigger than the first 2 groups by weight and size and length. And look at the size of the head, look at the length and so forth, look at the size of the feet. Now group number 4 I call the baby Huey group. And it got both the chopped up hydroponically grown barley grass and the duck pellets. And nobody had ever done an experiment like this, ever, 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 ever. This is in the book Rarest Men and Cures. This experiment, published in 1994. It was published in these 75 publications in 1968. I did it in 67, published in 68. Now, what this says here is that these ducklings all have the same genes. The only genes that are different is some are boys and some are girls. Other than that, they're exactly the same genetically. Exactly. No different. Like I said, there's 125 identical twins here. It's a very simple question. Which group maximized their genetic potential for development? Group number 4. Now, they all had the same genes. Now, doctors have the insane belief that your genes are autonomous. They're going to do what they're going to do. You got good genes, you're going to get all the effects of those good genes. You got bad genes, you get all the effects of bad genes. That's not the truth. You got genes. Genes are just a blueprint. You can take your blueprint of your favorite home, your dream house. You bought a nice lot on a lake or up in the mountains. Let's say you put that blueprint in the middle of that lot, come back a year later, what do you got? Well, you don't have the blueprint because a deer ate the blueprint. You got weeds up your armpits. You certainly don't have a house out there. What was missing? You had the most perfect blueprint for your dream house. You had the dream lot. Well, you didn't have bricklayers, you didn't have concrete layers, you didn't have carpenters, you didn't have roofers, you didn't have wood, you didn't have lumber, you didn't have concrete, you didn't have shingles, you didn't have glass, you didn't have copper piping, and you didn't have kitchen appliances and bathtubs and things like that. Your genes, your DNA, your RNA, and your telomeres are exactly the same way. Your grandmother can live to be 120 and drank and smoked and did all that kind of stuff. You died of a heart attack at age 18 while you're running track. Okay? Which one got the maximum genetic potential? Grandma, who lived to be 120. And this is why I'm considered one of the fathers and founders of epigenetics. That one experiment. How about pressure and blacks not genetic? Death and genetic theory of disease transmission. Again, in when I was doing all those autopsies, in crocodiles and alligators, I'm finding type 2 diabetes in crocodiles and alligators. It's supposed to be a genetic disease in humans. How can that be? Did that crocodile eat a Baptist preacher who is in mission work in Africa and get his genes? I mean, how did that happen? I mean, there's a lot of failed theories here, right? Well, it turns out it's a simple deficiency of a single mineral, and any vertebrate who's deficient in this mineral, will get type 2 diabetes. Yeah. If I told you, I'd have to kill you. Everybody wants to know what that mineral is. Well, I can't tell you, and here's why. If I told you, you'd run out and get that mineral, which is easy to get, and you'd fail. And you said, well, I did what Wallach said, and it failed. Because you have to make it part of the 90 essential nutrients. You have to have all the cofactors to make it work. It's kind of like Grandma's recipe for angel food cake recipe, which everybody just loved. Let's say there's 25 ingredients in it, but you only like 2 of the 25, so you leave out the other 23. We're going to have Grandma's famous angel food cake recipe? No. And I did for the first couple of years. I was so excited. I'm telling everybody. It didn't work, Wallach. I said, it's got to work. Well, what I forgot was that the animal alfalfa pellets that we do experiments with, we'll leave something out, put something in. The alfalfa pellets are obligated to eat the whole thing. Every animal in that experiment is getting the same exact diet. Okay? And they're all inbred to the point where they're all the same genes. And here you got all this disparity between human beings, some from Poland, some from Brazil, some from Africa, some from England, some from France, and then they're all eating different things. They try an experiment on them. Nothing comes out. That's because, you know, it's all over the place. The first 3 months of pregnancy, the first trimester is where the baby's going down an assembly line, kind of like Detroit. And if mom is missing anything anywhere along that line in that first 90 days, there's a defect in the baby. Sometimes the defects are so horrific that the baby doesn't survive and you get a miscarriage. So what are OB/GYN doctors doing wrong? Why are we number 41st in the world when it comes to live births and but yet, when you look at the 30 days survivability, we rank 41st in the world. 30 days survivability of our babies. We're talking about 41st. There's a baby that didn't live as long as a mom. It was born alive, healthy, and it died 41 days later. Or 30 days later, 20 days later, 2 weeks later. Okay? So what are OB/GYNs doing wrong? Well, ladies, you have to appreciate, if you're OB/GYN, you are a cervix and breasts. Now, they win the lottery when you get cancer. They're constantly digging for nuggets and gold. When you get cancer, they won the lottery. How many of you, think about it, when you went to the OB/GYN for the first time, how many of you were sat down by the doctor or his nurse, or he showed a film or gave you a brochure and said, look, before you leave this office, I want you to read this brochure, watch the film, listen to my nurse, listen to me, I'll talk to 10 of you at the same time. And I cannot stress the importance that you need to take all 90 essential nutrients, 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids. If you do that, you won't have a baby with a birth defect. If you don't do that, there's a high probability you have a baby with a birth defect. How many of you had that lecture from your doctor? There's what OB/GYNs are doing wrong. Most women do not take prenatal vitamins until they miss 2 periods. They're already 10 weeks into the pregnancy, and birth defects, most of the most terrible ones, occur in the first 3 to 7 weeks of pregnancy. Your baby's already damaged. And so what I'm urging you to do when you have a couple who are what I call running hot, you know, they're just dating night and day, they're skipping work and skipping school and never coming home. You know, we're not dumb. Maybe we know what they're doing, right? They're getting engaged. They're getting married. Don't give them money. Don't promise them you'll pay for their honeymoon. Don't give them monogram towels with their initials on it. Don't give them a linen set to start their household. Give them the 90 essential nutrients for both a man and a woman. So I'm going to give it to you. I'll give you a 3-month supply. I'll put you on auto ship for 3 months. After that, you got to take over here, because I don't want to be a grandma babysitting a special needs child, not necessarily. It's preventable. I don't want to be a grandma who falls in love with my grandbaby and he dies at 3 years old of something that could have been prevented. I'm holding you responsible. If you do not do this, I'm starting out and giving you the first 90 days supply. If you do not do this, I will leave you out of the will and give everything I own to the Zoological Society. I mean, we've got to take over here, folks. This is the point at which we've got to start. Get them on the 90. Don't wait till they miss. I'm pregnant. I just had myself pregnancy exam here from the store. It's not a bad thing. But I've never taken a vitamin in my life. Do you think I need prenatal vitamins? We're already 10 weeks too late. MS, multiple sclerosis, used to be a disease of middle-aged people. 35 to 50 is when you start seeing symptoms to get diagnosed. Very easy to diagnose with an ultrasound. I hate to say the words CAT scans, MRI, that kind of stuff. But very easy to diagnose. You never see it in infants. Now babies are being born with MS. Because the mothers are eating really bad things during early pregnancy, prior to pregnancy. It's impacting the baby's white matter in the brain. They're born with a lesion, it's very easy to see. Okay? Stroke. Remember? Thrombotic stroke. Blood clots caused by omega-3 essential fatty acid deficiency. a ratio problem between omega-3, 6s, and 9s. And again, it was a disease that used to occur in people 50, 60, 70 years of age, not 12-year-olds or 8-year-olds or 2-year-olds or 5-year-olds falling off their tricycle and dying of a stroke. These are the sort of things that are coming across my autopsy tape. You can see the changing. Suddenly it went from 50-year-old people down to 2-year-old people. Well, what's going on here? Well, how many omega-3s is there in Fruity Pebbles and apple juice? Or Egos and Welch's grape juice? Or Quaker oatmeal for breakfast? And, what's another good juice here? You know, the drill. Orange juice of some kind, Minute Maid. Sunny Delight, yeah, my favorite. Okay, lupus is a very simple disease. You get on a gluten-free diet, you take the 90 essential nutrients. I like the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. It gives you all 90 essential nutrients with a special emphasis on the brain and the heart. Get them on a gluten-free diet, no wheat, barley, rye, and oats, no fried foods, no processed meats and oils. That includes microwave popcorn. That includes theater popcorn, olive oil, coconut oil, margarine, mayonnaise, saturated cooking oils. All got to go. And lupus goes away. It's not an autoimmune disease. It's a very simple nutritional deficiency, easily prevented, easily reversed. Down syndrome. How many ladies remember, back in the day when you first started going to the OB/GYN, that women over age 35 had a higher rate of Down syndrome babies than younger women? Yeah, that was the big hoo-ha. You got to be careful now. You're over age 35. If you really want to get pregnant, you're going to have a high risk for Down syndrome. Remember that? Well, now the highest rate is in women in their 20s. Again, because it's a simple nutritional deficiency. 1 out of 700 babies born to women in their 20s now. 1 out of 700 babies is born with Down syndrome. Out of 3 million babies born in America every year, most of them, 1 out of 700 have Down syndrome. Very easily prevented. It's a deficiency of the single mineral. And the first duplication, after the sperm fertilizes the egg, you're a 1-celled human being. When you go to a 2-celled human being, if that mineral's missing, you're going to be a Down syndrome baby. You know, even 2 weeks later, it's too late to do something about it. Now, I have reversed dozens of these, reversed them completely back to normal the first 2.5 months of pregnancy. My most famous one was Lauren Knievel, Eva Knievel's niece-in-law, by actual ultrasound and amniocentesis, where they took fluid out of the amniotic sac, did the smears, I actually looked at them myself and confirmed it was trisomy, okay, Down syndrome. And she said, I heard you can reverse this. I said, well, I've been doing it in animals since 1958 when we were doing stem cell studies, okay? Let's do it. I said, well, it's not pharmaceutical, this is just nutrition. She said, well, it can't hurt anything, it can't be any worse, I don't want to get an abortion, so let's do it. And we did. Maybe after 9 months, born perfectly normal. And the story and everything's in the book, Epigenetics, all the details. Now, kids who are born with Down syndrome, we can add 50 or more IQ points to them. They become independent. They get driver's licenses, get jobs. They can deal with money. They can have their own checking accounts they can deal with. They can have their own apartments. I've been the best man at weddings between a Down syndrome girl and a Down syndrome boy. They're infertile, can't have babies, so don't have to worry about that. It's not genetic. Sherrill Palsy, very common birth defect. When a baby's born, say a 6-pound baby, the cerebellum, the part that controls your fine motor movement, should be the size of a small tangerine. This girl's cerebellum is the size of a grape. Okay, the only thing she can voluntarily move are her eyes. Notice the clamps holding her head up, clamps around her neck and under her arms holding her torso back. Look at the clamps around her legs. Without all these clamps, she'd be breakdancing all the time. That's what she does without restraints. She's catheterized for urine collection. Somebody has to change her Depends 5 times a day because she has constant diarrhea. She has to be fed through her G-tube. She can't swallow. She has to have massages 5 times a day to deal with pressure ulcers and everything. And I can take a young man with Sherrill Palsy, and let's say they fall in love, and they have a baby. It would be perfectly normal if she's taking the 90 essential nutrients for at least 3 months before she gets pregnant, and then all through the pregnancy she'll have a normal baby. It's not a genetic thing. This is a simple birth defect of the embryo. Okay? Totally preventable. Now this young woman, this is 12 years ago, she's 11 years old in this picture. She's gone through puberty. And now somebody has to change your tampons and all that kind of stuff. All the things of life that we think of as very simple, we do for ourselves. And she can't brush her teeth. She can't do anything. Totally helpless. She costs you, the taxpayer, $5 million a year to take care of. What makes this a very disturbing story is there's 10,000 of these babies born every year at this stage of cerebral palsy.
Wow.
You multiply 10,000 times 5 million. And see how much you're paying for just this birth defect. And here's the part of the brain, the cerebellum. The smaller this is, the more catastrophic the cerebral palsy is. Another one of my 9 lawsuits against the FDA was I forced them to put, by law, folic acid into prenatal bottoms to prevent spina bifida. Spina bifida, the vertebrae don't form properly, they don't go from flat to being a tube properly. It can go anywhere along the spinal cord, but about 80% of the time it'll be in the lumbar area. And the spinal cord just curls around in there like a garden hose. Okay? And of course this one also, in addition to the folic acid deficiency, also has zinc deficiency because it's got club feet. Why didn't they separate these babies at day 1? Well, the mother didn't want to lose one twin. There was only one liver between the two. Later, they're like 6 years old, they separated them because they were able to give the one without the liver, the smaller one without the liver, they gave it a liver transplant. This is a incomplete Siamese triplets. There's 3 sets of legs. The 2 smaller sets of legs do not have a torso, arms, or head. They're just attached to the pelvis of this larger baby, or complete baby, all caused by nutritional deficiencies in the embryos. And so most people never see these kind of things, right? Congenital deafness is not genetic, although doctors are raising money to find the gene that we've known since 1964. It's a deficiency of a single mineral. Totally, if they take, again, our 90 cents of nutrients for 3 months before pregnancy, there'll never be another deaf child born. Do you understand why I'm on the road 400 days a year dealing with this? Okay, once you know we can do something about it, why should we let our children and grandchildren suffer unnecessarily? Same with cleft palate, very simple birth defect to prevent. Every OBGYN that manages a pregnancy where there's a defect, a problem, or a miscarriage, they should go to jail for that, for 3 months. 3rd time is game over, they go to jail forever, and obviously they won't be able to practice medicine anymore. I guarantee you, if you put 1,000 of these guys in jail, the next day after you've put the 1,001th in jail, every OBGYN will be giving grade school kids the 90 cents of nutrients because they don't want to go to jail. But now there's no penalty for that. You refer all these defective babies to the pediatric surgeon who's their brother-in-law. Same way with belly button hernias. One on the left is pretty typical. Size of walnut, easily surgically dealt with, but totally preventable. The 2 in the middle, the children died during birth. There's nothing wrong with them. Everything else in their body is perfect. The one in the middle had a 6-inch defect, no skin over it. The one on the right had a defect all the way from the pubic bone to the xiphoid. We're talking about almost 10 inches, no skin over it, and the liver and the stomach and the spleen, all the intestines are hanging out. The babies died from vascular shock through vaginal birth. So why didn't the OB/GYN do a cesarean? That's what they're supposed to be there for. The baby's heartbeat starts going crazy. They say, oh, there's babies in stress, we got to get them out. Those babies would have survived. Well, those OB/GYNs were in the bathroom giving themselves IV drugs. And they should have been monitoring the pregnancies. Have you heard of thalidomide? Remember thalidomide? Yeah. Okay. Here was a drug prescribed by OB/GYNs to women, an unproven drug, prescribed to women for morning sickness, and 10,000 American babies were born like this. No arms and no legs, or very defective arms and legs, like in the middle. Okay, thalidomide. They never tested that drug on pregnant laboratory animals to see if there'd be an impact on the embryos. Nobody went to jail, nobody lost their job, nobody was fined anything. The company was fined a little bit of money, kind of like fining you 3 cents for a parking ticket. Okay, it was minuscule. It had no impact on them or anybody else. People who had children like that got nothing. now we've got this microencephaly going on. I don't believe it has to do with the Zika virus, because the Zika virus is all over the place, and the number of kids born in each country every year with microencephaly is about 50 kids every year on the average in each country. In Sao Paulo, Brazil, not the entire country of Brazil, but Sao Paulo, Brazil, in 2015 there were 4,000. Remember the thalidomide story?
Yeah.
I believe if they either tested another drug. Okay, makes sense? Because what about all these other mothers that were pregnant that got Zika virus and there was no defect? All over the world, the Zika virus is everywhere now. There's lots of normal babies being born. Mother has a Zika virus. You can test the antibodies and stuff. It's a very simple study. So I think there was something else going on in Sao Paulo, Brazil. This one on your right is 10 years old. Her younger sister is 4 there. And they were both born with it, obviously 6 years apart. And this was 6 years before the Zika virus. I remember your Greek mythology, the cyclops. Remember the cyclops, the evil giant? Here's a cycloptic cat. Here's a cycloptic sheep. Here's a cycloptic shark. Now I want you to remember, I told you that when you have all the vertebrates get the same defect, that means it's a nutritional deficiency, it's not a genetic thing. So they all suffer from the same nutritional deficiency. Now you know it's coming next, so if you can't stand terrible things to see, close your eyes. You know it's coming. There's a 3-month-old human infant, the cyclops. The nose is above the eye, that's that white thing above the eye is the nose, there's no nose between them. Because inside the skull everything is flipped. Okay? This baby's alive. And in villages, tribal villages all over the world, when you have a baby born like this, the grandmother immediately knows what to do, takes it, drowns it, smothers it. Because the villagers they're hunter-gatherers, they're hanging on by their fingernails. Some of them starve to death every year, and they can't use resources from the village because it would take all the resources of the village to care for a child like this. So they're saving the village by killing the kid. Okay? Terrible, terrible, terrible things people do out of necessity in some cases, in this case. Well, in pet animals, you know, dogs and cats, and also laboratory animals in the United States, each year, there's 1 in 16,000 offspring born with cyclops. And it's not unusual when you have, say, a Great Dane that'll have 10 puppies, one of them might be a cyclops. Because all the embryos were competing for a limited amount of food, maybe. And so the ones that didn't get everything they should got defects. So you ever heard of runts and stuff like that? Okay. Well, in humans, it's 1 in 250. Now you don't see it very often. Most of the miscarriages are cycloptic babies. Just bring them to me, you know, the size of a smashed grape out of the toilet in a little paper coffee cup, and they say, was this a miscarriage or is this a blood clot? What is this? I thought I was pregnant. Now I'm not. And I look under the microscope, yeah, it was a miscarriage, and you know, the baby just was not strong enough to survive, is what I tell them. I didn't have the heart to tell them it was a cycloptic baby. But this is a printed statistic in pathology journals, 1 in 250 when you count the miscarried embryos. Well, of course, it's a simple nutritional deficiency. 90 cents of nutrients, very good question. I failed to tell you that, I'm sorry. 3 to 6 months before pregnancy, conception. Preconception nutrition. All through pregnancy, babies will be 99.99999% will be born normal. Just remember that all of these defects are caused by nutritional deficiency in the embryo. They're not genetic, so they are preventable. This woman here, an unwed mother, had a baby with 38 legitimately diagnosed birth defects, 38 defects in one baby. You know, things like club feet, heart defects, spina bifida, Down syndrome. It had Sherrill Palsy, type 1 diabetes. Those are just a few I can remember. And 38 birth defects in one baby. That baby costs you $5 million a year to take care of. There's hundreds of them born every month like this.
She had to be fasting half her life.
No, she ate plenty of stuff. It didn't have anything in it of any nutritional value. Okay, this is me again in 1977. I discovered the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis. I sent copies of the slides to experts all over the world and said, what do you think this is? I didn't even tell them what I thought. I said, what do you think this is? And he said, well, it's a classic example of cystic fibrosis. And back then, in 77, we didn't have email and stuff like that, so I'd write them a letter back thanking them for sending me their opinion and writing on their letterhead. Very good. They said, now, the good news is this is a non-human. This is the first non-human case of cystic fibrosis. Oh, they were so excited. I said, yes, I have a colony here. They're not related. I have a colony here. They're not related, but I have 25 babies the same age. They're not related in any way genetically. And I did biopsy. I got permission to do biopsies on them, their pancreases and their livers and their lungs. They all had cystic fibrosis. Now, what would you think? They're not genetically related, and all 25 babies with 2 different mothers and fathers, or 25 sets of different mothers and fathers, not genetically related in any way. It's got to be an environmental problem. Guess what? Nutritional deficiency during pregnancy. Tracked it all down, did all the chemistries. I had already done it 25,000 times before I got there. Okay, so I was already an expert in all that kind of stuff, not because I'm smart, because of life experience. So I knew what to do, and I found the answer. And they fired me. Wallach, everybody knows it's genetic. You can't say it's not genetic. I said, well, why don't you treat me like a PhD student and challenge my thesis, and let me have my data there, and you get geneticists, you get cystic fibrosis experts, you get pediatricians. Let them challenge me. If I can answer them correctly with my data, then let's get some grants and save kids. If I can't, go ahead and fire me. And they said, no, we'd be laughed out of the university. No, you're gone. They fired me. That's when I went back to school and became a physician, naturopathic physician. Okay, so I can heal these kids. This was from the news release of Emory University when they first found out. Okay, and boy, at first they were excited, and then when they told it wasn't genetic, oh my gosh, they were freaked out then. Because they didn't want to say, well, I've been teaching the wrong thing for 30 years. No, they wouldn't admit that. Well, that was 1978 when they fired me. This is a lead article in the International Laboratory Animal Research Journal, which is the scientific journal for animals. They have one for people too, from the National Science Foundation, June 2005. And in June of 2005, the federal government had defunded primate research. Too expensive. $10,000 a day for primates, 10 cents a day for mice. Use mice. You want to use primates, go to Warren Buffett or Bill Gates Foundation. Okay? Government's not going to pay for it. So they gathered up all the information from the 20th century on the top 10 leading research projects that benefited humanity that were done in primates. Look what we did in the 20th century. We can do the same thing in the 21st century. Give us our funding back. Well, the top 10 best studies in research in primates that benefited humanity, number 2 was my research on the cystic fibrosis. There's a two-page section in that article. And Steve found it, by the way. He goes through these things for me all the time. He found it. He said, Dad, I got something I want to read here. And the last sentence, the last page of the 3-page piece on cystic fibrosis in that article, it was a big hoo-ha. The last sentence was in brackets and said, Emory University refused to release the name of the young pathologist who made the discovery. Close brackets. And some of the kids I work with are like this. Her father was told she needed a double lung transplant. Little Sydney Meyer, she's 2 years old here. And they, thank God they didn't have any money or insurance. They came to me and said, hey, we hear that you can do some things with nutrition. Yep. So we got her on her program, and 6 years later, she's winning dance contests. And now, of course, we're talking 15 years later, so she's got her own family and everything. Everybody's perfectly normal because she doesn't have cystic fibrosis anymore, simple nutritional deficiency disease. Well, in 1989, I went to China. Make a long story short, went to China and did 1,700 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 that died of cardiomyopathy heart disease, sudden heart death. In Qishan Province, China, which is up where New England is for us up in the northeast corner, there's none of this mineral that's missing when you have cardiomyopathy heart disease. There's also the mineral that's missing, it's deficient when you have cystic fibrosis. I said, well, if I'm correct, and here's all these hundreds and hundreds of kids dying every month, Qishan province, China. They die hundreds of them every month because of the deficiency. And I'll find some cystic fibrosis kids in that bunch. And again, to make a long story short, I did 1,700 autopsies. I was hoping to find 20, 25 kids with cystic fibrosis, and I failed. I didn't find 10 or 15 or 20 or 25. I found 595 out of 1,700. It's 35%. Classic examples. And so I took, all the slides, the pictures, which are in this article. It's in English, in chemistry journals here. It's in Chinese, in chemistry journals, and pathology journals in China. And also I found two other things of interest in this study. The third thing I found, of course, Qishan disease, cardiomyopathy, heart disease, deficiency of a single mineral, cystic fibrosis. 35% of these kids had cystic fibrosis. And of course, geneticists said it doesn't occur in Chinese kids, but I found 35% of them did because they never looked. Okay, and then I also found that 100% of these 1,700, 1,700 of them had muscular dystrophy. I theorized a long time ago, it's in the book, my publications from 1967, 71, because I'm finding this muscular dystrophy in wild animals and zoo animals, and I'm proposing to everybody that I know the cause. We see the same thing in domestic animals, and I know how to get rid of it. And they're all laughing. It was 1967, 1971. 100% of these 1,700 had muscular dystrophy. Well, also, 200 of them had SIDS, sudden death syndrome, because they're under 3 months of age. Yeah. Remember the theory on SIDS? What caused SIDS? Crib death. They smothered to death because they were sleeping on their stomach instead of their back. And the other group of doctors said, no. They smothered to death because they're sleeping on their back. They shouldn't sleep on their stomach. They made harnesses and sandbags to hold them in sleeping positions. How dumb are these people? Not one of them looked at their hearts properly. Every one of these 200 that died of SIDS had cardiomyopathy, heart disease, very easily seen when you know what you're looking for. Looked at a microscope, it fit all the microscopic stuff, all the biochemistry, got it published. Well, I gave the information after 15 years. Marvin Romp and I done research on the Amish kids because they have the highest rate of muscular dystrophy of any group of people in America. Wow. Because they live off the land, and their diet is extremely restricted to where they live, and where they live in places like Indiana and western Pennsylvania and Illinois and Missouri, where they're very heavily populated in those areas. Tennessee, Kentucky, there's literally are none of this mineral in these major farming counties. So they have a very high rate of muscular dystrophy and cystic fibrosis. I have couples in Amish communities in Indiana that will have 5 kids. 2 of them will have cystic fibrosis and 3 of them will have muscular dystrophy. Are their genes that bad? They've never survived. How do people survive with that many genes? It's impossible. So anyway, we're getting great results. I mean, we are reversing these kids with muscular dystrophy like crazy.